We are live. Welcome back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. And today we have UFC 265, and I'm joined here with a guest here. I'm joined here with Alex B. Smith. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Nick. Good to see you. Usually we're chatting on the Ice Guys live betcast normally, and so it's nice to get to talk some UFC. Most people don't know that. I love the UFC. I'm a huge fan, and I bet it often, especially during these summer months when there's no hockey.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about this card. It's a card to actually get excited about, considering what we got last week. I'm ready to put that card behind me already and have a new card to look at. And that's exactly what we got here. We have a good one here. UFC 265, Derrick Lewis and Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight championship. But first, we're going to kick it off here in the prelims. We have Jamie Simmons taking on Johnny Munoz Jr. The current lines, Munoz around a minus 310. It's a plus 260 for Simmons. Over under of 2.5 rounds in this one. The overs around plus 115. The unders are minus 145. Your thoughts for this opening fight of the night?
These are two guys I'm not exactly familiar with, and you look back, they only have one UFC fight apiece. They've each lost in those debuts. The thing I like to look at with these sometimes would be to look for some knockout props or fight doesn't go the distance props, because you got these guys, they're young and hungry. They know it's a pay-per-view card, even though they're not on the main pay-per-view card, but still getting that ESPN exposure. They're amped up and juiced up, and we tend to see a lot of finishes, be it submissions or knockouts, with some of these early prelim fights. So that's kind of the mode of attack I go whenever it's a pay-per-view night. If it's two guys I don't know, you can always jump in with live wagering if your book has it available. See where the fight's going and maybe look for a finish. So that's probably how I'm going to attack this and approach this. I'll watch this one and maybe, if I see something that's glaring, try to jump in live.
Yeah, you can get the under 2.5. Then it's a minus 145 for this fight, and fight does not go the distance, minus 150. I think that's definitely worth a look here. I am looking at Johnny Munoz a little bit in this fight. He will have the 3-inch height advantage. He will have a 1-inch reach advantage, and I believe he's just the better overall fighter. We saw with Simmons in his first fight, he was really brought in to give Giga Chikadze a knockout win for his first opening fight. And I don't think he's really UFC caliber. Also, if you take a look at his 3 losses, Simmons, they're all by finish. He's been knocked out twice and he's been submitted once. So yeah, I was looking a little bit at the under in this one. I haven't pulled the trigger on anything in this fight other than I have Munoz parlayed with someone later in the card. And I'm leaning towards looking at a submission prop for Munoz in this one. But the only thing I have right now is that parlay with Munoz and someone coming up a little bit later.
Okay.
All right. So we have nothing for the first fight here. And I don't think I'm getting involved in this next one either. We have Victoria Leonardo taking on Melissa Gatto. It's around a pick'em for this fight. Over under 2.5 here. The over is a minus 125 and the under is a minus 105. Something kind of interesting for this fight is looks like the bookmakers are looking for this fight to be finished a little bit here. Maybe they're expecting a Melissa Gatto submission. This is going to be her first time fighting in about, I think, 2.5 years. This is her UFC debut. But her last fight was a submission win against Carol Rosa, which was an interesting win for her there. But are you looking at getting involved in this fight at all?
This will probably be a pass, but I would lean with Victoria Leonardo. And the thing is, like I said, Gatto, it's been a couple of years since she's fought. She has some issues with USADA. She's also had to drop down in weight. Fighting here at flyweight, was usually a bantamweight fighter, like I said, with that win 3 years ago against Carol Rosa via submission. So, you kind of wonder how things are going to shake out. It's a long time, even for a younger fighter. There's still a little bit of ring rust sometimes. And Leonardo, had that big win in the Contender Series, then ended up taking a loss. So she's 1-1, officially 0-1 in the UFC. So, like I said, sometimes you see those fighters want to get that first win, be kind of hungry. This could be a scrappy bout, so I wouldn't be shocked to see a finish, but just a slight lean to Leonardo.
Yeah, this is one where I have absolutely no interest in backing this one or betting this one at all. Maybe a lean towards the under. That was a plus 135 earlier in the week, and that's been slammed all the way to a minus 105. So it's definitely money coming in on the under on this fight, and I can see that. Victoria Leonardo has a kind of high finish rate for a female, 62.5% with 1 knockout and 4 submissions. On the other side, Gatto has 4 of her 6 wins by submission. She does have 2 draws on her record, so half of her fights have ended by finish. But looking at this one, it's kind of a under look, maybe a Leonardo inside the distance. You can get a nice, I believe it was a plus 300 earlier in the week. You can get that right now. Let me take a look here. Melissa Gatto Leonardo inside the distance is a plus 300. I think someone gets finished in this fight though, and that's kind of what the books are saying for this one. You're muted.
Sorry about that. You don't see a lot of money moves in the UFC too often that people just automatically would tail. But because most female fights do end going the distance, when you see money come in on the under like this, that's definitely a sign that there's some sharp action that is driving that money. So yeah, you wouldn't be it would make sense to look toward the under and definitely look toward someone finishing inside the distance at that good of a price.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the way to go is probably either Leonardo inside the distance or a submission prop for what do you call it? Gatto.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the chat here. What's good, Tim? Yeah, he's currently in Raleigh right now, so he's not on the show. Glad for the UFC show. Yeah. Chicago White Sox made me 4 units today. Good work.
Yeah, wonderful. That was a great win by the Sox, 8-6 in 10 innings against the team from the north side.
Yeah, I did have the Cubs first 5 in that game, but this is a UFC show. We're not talking about baseball right now.
Right.
I took a shot on the dog. It is what it is. But we'll move on to the next one here. Oh, we have another comment. Nice. I've never seen these two fight. With the next one here. We have Anderson dos Santos and Miles John. This fight was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago on that Dillashaw Sandhagen card.
Right.
And we're finally getting it here tomorrow. Miles Johns are on minus 205. It's a plus 175 on the other side with Anderson dos Santos. Over under of 2.5 rounds for this one. Do you have a play on this one?
No, nothing here. Dos Santos would be a slight lean at a dog price. I know some people that do like Johns. These are two guys that really have some kind of heavy hands for the most part, and bantamweights. We tend to see them. Most of these guys can really kind of, if they have some sneaky power, we see it kind of pop up. So this kind of falls into that same kind of realm of what I talked about looking for some finishes inside with these early prelim fights. Anderson dos Santos, I know, is a guy that a few people would lean with at a dog price. So like I said, laying 200, not something I like to do with fighters I don't know too well. But this seems like it might be a fight worth at least watching and could possibly find something live.
Yeah, I don't mind that live angle there. But for me, looking at this one, I said I had Munoz the first fight parlayed with someone. I went with Miles John here. I just don't trust some of these bigger favorites down the card for parlaying reasons. And I think Miles John, in my eyes, was probably the safest one to parlay with Munoz. So I have a unit on the Munoz. Johns was a minus 200. It was a minus 300 for Munoz. And it was an even money parlay. So I have that as a 2-legger. That's the only thing I really have for this fight. I'm looking potentially at the over. I think that this might go to decision. So Johns by decisions at plus 135. I think that's a potential look as well. I don't personally have anything bet other than the parlay here with Johns and Munoz for this fight. So that's all I'm about looking at for this one. Anything else you want to look at for this fight?
No, we can go on to the next one.
Yeah, this next one is an interesting one because we do have a little bit of a situation with this one. Odi Osborne take on Manel Cape, minus 195 for Cape, plus 170 for Osborne. Over under 2.5 rounds, minus 120, minus 110. So kind of a pick 'em for the over under 2.5. I do have a play on this one. I got a good line on it earlier in the week. And the situation we're looking at here is Cape weighed in at 129. He missed weight by 3 pounds. And the question is, did he do it for a slight advantage in this one? Osborne will have a 2-inch height advantage, and he will have a 4-inch reach advantage. Are you looking at getting involved in this one?
Yeah, no, I took a shot with Osborne here as well. I remember his last fight. I saw the knockout that he had against Jerome Rivera. This definitely seems like a live dog here. And now at Cape, we said we kind of wondered, did he, was it intentional that he come in overweight, or did he have a tough cut? That will remain to be seen. But I like Osborne at a plus price. And like I said, money's come in, it's moved a little bit. I got it plus 175, but Even if you find a plus 170, 165, I think he's a live shot here. He's got good power. But he also has sustainability. So even if he doesn't, engage in an all-out fist fight, he can, outlast and work his good all-around game. That should really keep him alive and as a solid dog price. That's what I'm going with here.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people have a lot of love for Osborne as a nice dog here. I feel like he's the dog of the week that everyone loves. And I understand he has looked good his last few starts. Granted, this is a huge step up in competition for him. Miguel Cop, I think, is a definite step up in competition despite his 0-2 record in the UFC. I think he still has talent. And the way I went with this one, I got it at plus 110 earlier in the week. It's minus 110 now, but I went under 2.5 rounds in this one. I feel like this one we are going to see a finish. Miguel Cape, 93.3% finish rate in his wins. He has nine knockouts, 5 submissions, and a decision win. On the other side, 88% finish rate for Osborne, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, and a decision win. 66% of Osborne's losses are by submission as well. So I'm looking at potentially Manel Kape by knockout, but I have the under 2.5 for this one as my official play. I got it at plus 110 earlier in the week. It has been hit a little bit going to minus 110, but that is where I'm looking at this one. 2 very high percentages for finish rates in this between these two. So I think someone gets finished in this fight. So violence for me.
Yeah, it definitely should be one of those. Like I said, one of these early prelim fights where we definitely see some good two-way action, and it won't be a snooze fest by any means.
No, yeah, exactly. And boy, are you right there, AM Masker. Last week the dogs were high. You ain't kidding. That was probably one of the best dog cards I've seen in a very long time, and I did not have a very successful night in that one. Thank you, Rafa Casilla. Thank you, Brian Barberena. But we are on 265. We're not talking about Vegas 33 because I don't want to talk about that card anymore. This one is another one of those fights where it's going to be interesting. We have Carolina Kowalkiewicz. Kowalkiewicz. I was looking at that. I tried to pronounce it 8 times. I heard them say it during the weigh-in. And I was like, okay, I got to remember how it's said. Totally forgot. And she's taking on Jessica Penne. It's a minus 135 for Carolina. I'm just going to call her that. And it's a plus 115 the other way of Penne. Over under of 2.5 rounds. Forget about it. The over is a minus 400. So the bookmaker is saying this is going to decision here. Do you think that you think they're spot on here? And who do you like in this fight?
Yeah, definitely. And these are two women who were title contenders at one given time. With Kowalkiewicz, we've seen her that last fight that she had going back against Shannon Yan, where she ended up having basically like a couple of surgeries and with her eyes. She had some facial fractures. She got messed up in that fight, and that kind of was really taking a step back. This seems like it's one of those battles where you have these Latin prelims too, where this is a career moment for both fighters. If they take another loss, they can end up getting a cut, from the promotion. Penne is the way I would lean here as a slight dog. She's the more durable fighter. And like I said, if Kowalkiewicz hasn't really, you can heal back, fully, but if you're not mentally ready after injuries like that, sometimes that can throw you off. So if Penne can push the pace and tempo early, she may be able to, like I said, it won't be a finish by any means, but definitely do enough to win this inside to by decision. So maybe look for Penne by decision as a better price than just going with the plus 110, plus 115.
Yeah, I would definitely look that way as well. I was looking at Jessica Penne here. I believe Carolina's coming in on like a 3 or 4 fight losing streak as well. Yeah. So she's not coming in looking very good. Neither is Penne. She's lost 3 of the 4 fights. And this is one of those 1-800 gambler type fights for me where I want nothing to do with this one. And for people who are betting it, I just wonder how much of you love coin toss women's fights, because I have no interest in this fight. Jessica Penne by decision, probably plus 195 is my ultimate lean with this one. Fight goes to decision at minus 350. I don't want any part of that. The over 2.5 at minus 400. That's maybe a parlay piece if you're looking to have. Yeah. If you're looking to have a small Hail Mary parlay, I would do the over 2.5 before picking a side on this one. because
Yeah.
my guess is as good as yours how these women are going to look. They're getting up there in age. I believe one is 60 or one is 36 and the other one's 38.
Right.
So these are two women that their careers are not much longer anyway. So this is one of those fights where I think this is the ultimate stay away spot for me here. Maybe this one and the Tecia Torres fight later as a stay away, but like I have no interest in betting this one at all.
I mean, that's the thing, but these, to use the old pro wrestling term, loser leaves town matches. That's exactly what this seems like, especially with their ages. So you're safer taking the dog at times, especially like I said, with Kowalkiewicz having injury issues on top of the fact of having, like I said, that long losing streak. So if you want to take a shot with something, if you really need to play a side, say if you were in a pool, I'd say maybe take Penny in a pool side. That's about it. Like I said, I'm not going to have any actual units on this mount.
Me neither. That's a fireball and popcorn fight, as Clint would say. So.
Right.
But this one definitely is not for me. And I saw on Twitter it is not for you either. Ed Herman, short fuse, taking on Alonzo Menifield, Atomic Alonzo Menifield. And he looked good today. Minus now 240 for Menifield, 205 on the opposite side here with Ed Herman. Total, this is the only 1.5 total on the card, and it's a pick 'em. So a lot of people the books are saying this could be ending really quick. Where's your look for this one?
Yeah, I'm going with Menifield here, and I like this fight inside the distance. I like Menifield to get a possible first round knockout as well. So I didn't get the price you mentioned. You'll talk about it with the knockout in the first round win. I got fight will not start in the second round plus 120. And I probably will take the lay the minus 140 with Menifield inside the distance. Ed Herman's been fighting for years. I remember this guy, I was in high school, in college when this guy was just starting his career. He's been around a long time. Look at his record, 13-10 in 23 UFC appearances. So he's getting toward the end of the line. Menifield, we've seen him really bounce back with a solid win against Fabio Charant. So he's trying to get some momentum back in his career. I think this is a great spot for him. 10-2, 3-2 in his last 5 fights in UFC to get a win here. And the books obviously see that as well with 240 on the regular money line. So I think the creative way to go is Menifield inside the distance, or look for the knockout in the first round, or fight to not start in the second round.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was looking at here. And one thing that I saw with Alonzo Menifield that really caught my attention here, his 10 wins are all by finish, 7 knockouts and 3 submissions. So this is someone who definitely doesn't want to see any judges' scorecards. In his 12 fights, he's only seen the scorecards once. So I definitely like fight does not go to decision. But for me, I have Alonzo Menifield inside the distance. I got it at minus 140. That covers a knockout. That covers a submission like we saw. He got a Darce choke in his last fight. And then I also went with Menifield here. Round 1 TKO. I got it at plus 190. I put half a unit on it. And I think that he can get, if he's going to win this fight, it's going to be in the first round, and he's going to knock him out in the first round. After that, that's when you're really going to have to sweat out Alonzo Menifield. If it makes it out of the first round, this is a live spot. I know you like live betting. Alonzo Menifield after the first round, I want nothing to do with, really. So Ed Herman, if it hits round 2, I think it's definitely worth a look. So because I think he's definitely one of those crafty veterans that will be able to work out potential. Like we saw what he did against Mike Rodriguez in his last fight. Sure. Had a little bit of veteran savvy, and then a Hail Mary Kimura that he got the win on. I had Mike Rodriguez by decision in that fight, so that was a really hard way to lose a bet there on that one. But I feel like Menifield, he was going to get it done in the first round, inside the distance at minus 145, and first round knockout. I got it at plus 190. It's plus 165 now. I still don't mind that price. I think he gets it done in the first round.
The small caveat with Herman live will be if he's taking a ton of damage at the end of the first round, but doesn't get stopped. So, and that's the case where you just kind of, up shit's creek, pardon the term. Well, because if the second round's going on, then he gets stopped in the first 30 seconds of the second round, unless you have that over under and you playing with fire at a 1.5, you need that, into the first 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So, like I said, I feel confident enough Menifield gets it done in the first round. We won't even see the second happen. So that's the way I'm going to roll with that. And like I said, just kind of take our chances from there.
Yeah, I agree. I had a couple first round knockout props last week, and one got a knockout in the second round. So hopefully we'll get the knockout in the first round this time and cash both of our plays here. Our next matchup here is going to be Vince Morales and Drako Rodriguez. The matchup here, it's a pick of -110 on each side. Over under 2.5 rounds. The over is a -145. The under is a plus 115. Are you looking at getting involved in this one?
I probably won't, but I would lean with Rodriguez. You look at Morales 1-3 in the UFC. This is a bigger fight for him. He needs this to stay on the roster, but use that term. Must win doesn't always mean will win. Rodriguez seems to be the more superior athlete. So people I've talked to, so that would be my lean if I had to play anything. But just other spots I like going into the main card, so I'm more likely going to stay off this.
Yeah, I do have a couple plays on this one. One is a regular play, another one's a smaller play. I went with what was it, the under 2.5 in this one, I believe it was. Fight does not go to decision at -110.
Okay.
I think we see a finish in this fight one way or another. So I'm trying to type and talk at the same time.
Yeah, that play covers you in case there's a late stoppage in the third, which we have seen a few of those happen within the last year. So you're looking at plus 115 for that under, but like I said, why not go with the pick'em spot to just make sure that the fight does not go to the judges' scorecards? You're playing it a little safer in that range.
Yes, definitely. I that's why I went with that one rather than the other. Try to buy myself those 2.5 minutes, because I've had a fight once where I had the go-to decision instead of the over 2.5, and it finished within like a minute with left.
Yeah.
I'm also going with a quarter unit here on the Rodriguez submission prop as well. One thing I've noticed is out of Morales' 5 losses, 1 is by knockout, 2 is by submission. So he has been submitted before. And Drako Rodriguez in his 7 wins has an 85.7% finish rate with 1 knockout and 4 submissions. So he has submissions on his record, and Morales has submission losses. So I took a quarter unit stab here at plus 525 for Rodriguez by submission. I believe it was plus 600 earlier in the week. I didn't get as good of a price on that one, but I do like Rodriguez to potentially get some type of choke here and be able to get a submission here against Vince Morales, kind of playing into my fight does not go to the distance, which is now a -125. So I beat around a 15-cent live movement. It's still plus 525 for Rodriguez by submission. It's also 525 for Rodriguez by knockout. I think the submission prop is a little bit better than the knockout because he has more submissions on his record. So he has more of a track history of getting those submissions. So that's where I was looking at for this one. We'll move on to.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you a quick story about, like I said, looking at the difference between fight not going to decision and a total. I knew somebody who had a really big bet on. You go back to that Alistair Overeem Jairzinho Rosenstruck fight. They had the under, and of course Rosenstruck gets the knockout blow with 8 seconds left in the fight. So he, instead of getting that under 4.5, that if he had bet fight not going to the distance, he would have cashed that. So people might think that's splitting hairs. Sometimes
it happens. Sometimes
it happens. It happens more often than people think. So sometimes that is a safer bet, especially if it's only a 20 cent, 25-cent swing. Definitely keep that in mind with other fights. Looking at that fight doesn't go to decision as opposed to a total.
Yeah, because if you're paying -120 compared to like -110, the only thing you're really giving up is about 1.5%,
right?
Which it happens. Sometimes it happens more than the 1.5% times. So it makes sense to just go pay a little bit of juice or a little bit extra juice and go with that. This next one, though, I'm not paying any juice on this one. Looking at Bobby Green and Rafael Fiziev here, it's a -320 for Fiziev, plus 260 other way with Bobby Green. Over under 2.5 rounds in this one, with the over being -180, plus 150 the other way with the under. Are you looking at anything in this fight?
This is what I would probably be looking at, fight not going the distance, because I know a lot of people who like Bobby Green to win this by knockout. I've also known some people who were looking at Fiziev to win this by knockout. So I know, and there's some books, some American books. I know FanDuel might be one of them that has this prop where you can just pick. Doesn't matter who wins, but how the fight ends. You can go for the knockout prop and just see, hope for either one of them to just land a good shot, get a knockout or a TKO. I don't know what the odds are exactly on that. I have to bring up my FanDuel, but that's the option I would probably look at there if you have that available. But if not, just betting fight doesn't go to the distance. Probably maybe go with a half unit, a quarter unit sprinkle on that.
Yeah, and looking at this fight, I do have a play on it here, and I kind of looked at I went with the dog here because I think potentially this is going to be a close split decision potentially, and having plus 260 instead of a minus 320 on a potential split decision is definitely look like a value play to me here, and then I kind of took a little bit from Clint here. I went with a little bit of his third round sprinkle. I saw he bet that. I'm like, I really like that prop. I think potentially he can get a third round finish in this fight. And we've seen him close to doing that a few times. So I think potentially we see a third round finish here by Bobby Green. I also really like the plus 260 price tag. I think that Bobby Green is better than we think. He just messes around a little bit too much in the octagon, which makes you not want to lay chalk on him. But when you're getting plus 260, I think that's totally a reasonable price trying to back Bobby Green here.
And you bring up a great point about looking for, this could be a split decision. I want to tell everyone to red flag for any of these fights.
Texas judges.
So stay away from that prop that says unanimous decision or split decision, and those odds might look juicy. Don't touch it, because the fight might look like a unanimous decision, and all of a sudden one judge has it for someone else, and you're out of that money. So if you think a fight's going to go to decision, just bet decision. Don't try to get cute with a split decision or unanimous, because these judges, it's been rough in boxing and MMA in Texas for quite some time.
And honestly, sometimes I don't even want to mess with picking a side by decision. I just want to go decision, saying, yeah, this is going to go 3 rounds, and I don't care what the judges think.
Mm-hmm.
They can pick the unicorn to win for all I care. As long as it goes to 15 or 25 minutes, that's all I care. I just need it to go that full distance. After that, it is what it is. Sure. So yeah, that's what I was looking at for that one. Or for some fights is just go to decision rather than
this is definitely the card to just go decision or go with the finish. But that split decision, unanimous decision, don't try to deal with that, because people will get burned more than likely than not. And even, hell, just even the decision, like I said, you think one guy won and another person gets the finish, gets the decision. So be very careful with that, but definitely just avoid the specifics with the decision.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was kind of looking at for for some of these fights. And then we say that, and then this next fight coming up, I forgot to type it up for whatever reason. But the next fight here, we have Casey Kenny and Song Yadong for this next matchup here, and talking about taking someone by decision. That's kind of what I did with this fight here. Looking at the odds, Casey Kenny's a minus 125. It's a plus 105 the opposite way of Song Yadong. So money has come out on Casey Kenny in this one. Over under of 2.5 rounds, the over being minus 220, plus 180 for the under. And fight goes to decision, like what we were mentioning just last fight, is a minus 185. So you're getting a much better price to go to decision rather than over 2.5. Where are you looking at for this one?
I'm gonna stay away from this. Casey Kenny's a fun fighter. I'll never forget when he, his first UFC fight came in on a short decision. It's a plus 235 dog. I ended up cashing with him. But he's, one of these guys who, like I said, he can, trade back and forth. Song Yadong's got a ton of power. So if I had to make a play, I would lean with him. Always like a dog that has good, powerful hands. Like I said, this one could definitely be one that goes to the decision. And this is also to lead off the pay-per-view card, mind you. We're out of the prelims. So this will be the first pay-per-view bout of the 5. I think it is for the main card. So this is one that could be a trade back and forth kind of fight. Should be a fun one to watch, but I don't have anything betting on it.
Yeah, I do have a side on this one here, and looking at this fight, I went with Casey Kenny. He's looked really good as of late. He did have a rough fight in his last one against, I believe, Dominic Cruz, but he's someone that, he's going to go decision. 6 out of his 7 UFC fights have gone to decision. All of his losses are by decision. He has 9 of his 16 wins by decision. On the other side, Song Yadong only has a 56% finish rate, with 7 of his 16 wins by decision. 3 of his losses are by decision, and 3 of his 7 fights have ended by finish. So 4 out of his 7 have gone the full distance. I went with Casey Kenny. I got him at minus 118. And I also put a half a unit on Casey Kenny by decision. I think he's just going to be able to apply a little bit more pressure and just outpoint Song Yadong in this fight. And for it to go to decision, I think, it's a minus 185 for it to go to decision. So I feel like it's a safe play, getting a little bit better of a price as well with the half unit stab on Casey Kenny by decision here.
Yeah, that's solid.
And about going to decision, I think this next fight is probably a lock of the night to go to decision on this one. We have Tecia Torres and Angela Hill. Minus 140 for Tecia Torres, plus 122 for Angela Hill. Over 2.5. Get this, is a minus 410. Under is a plus 310. So it is a huge price here for what we assume to be it going the full 15 minutes. Minus 350 for it to go to the judges' scorecards in this one. Are you looking at getting involved in this one between Tecia Torres and Angela Hill?
Though, I think about Angela Hill's fight against Michelle Waterson, where I thought she clearly won, but didn't end up getting the decision. Just talked about how judges are in Texas. It would seem quite fitting if she ends up having a great performance, but still ends up getting screwed as the underdog once again in this spot. Tecia Torres has made somewhat of a resurgence in her career. Has had a couple of good fights, and both these women seem like they were on the verge of getting cut. Keep in mind, this is also a rematch. These two fought way back about 6 years ago when Hill was, more of an up and coming prospect. So this is going to be a tough battle. I'm going to stay away from this one. Obviously, like I said, the 410 price on the over tells you this one's definitely going to be a decision fight, but it's going to be a lot of action. So maybe you can find some live spots potentially after the first round, see where things are shaking out. But I can see this one being a close decision, probably 29-28 on all cards, and we'll see who shakes out as the winner.
Yeah, this is another one where I have rather no interest in betting it. Just looking at odds here, with the odds of it going to decision so high, Angela Hill's a plus 122 in this fight, but her to win by decision is only a plus 135. You're only getting plus 13 more cents here. Right. If you want to take a shot here and say it doesn't go the distance, you can get goes under 2.5. You can get a solid 310. I absolutely do not think this ends by finish. So we did see a finish in Tecia Torres' last fight. I believe it was a doctor stoppage, though, or something along those lines.
Yes, it was, right.
Mm-hmm. But taking a look at these finish rates, and Tecia Torres' wins, 16%. 1 knockout, 1 submission, 10 decision wins. All 5 of her losses are by decision. And 14 UFC fights have gone the full 15 minutes. And she's fought really good competition before this. She's fought like Jessica Andrade. She's fought Joanne Checker. Yeah, I think that's how it's said.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. And then on the other side, Angela Hill, I feel like she's 2 split decisions off of being on a 6-fight winning streak. She's looked pretty good lately. I did have her in the Waterson fight. I did think she won the fight, but no, the Karate Hottie did. She has a 38.5% finish rate. She does have 5 knockouts on her record and 8 submissions, but 11 of her 14 UFC fights have gone to the judges' scorecards. If you guys are trying to get a little bit crazy with this one, Angela Hill by knockout to plus 625. I mean, maybe it's worth a quarter unit. Potentially. Yeah. I'm not trying to get involved in this fight, though. It would be a lean towards the dog in this one. I think it's going to be a close one. Texas judges will be fun to decipher with this one, but I have absolutely no interest in this fight.
Yeah, this easily could be the most controversial of the decisions for the evening, with no question.
Yep. What's good, Dad? How are you doing? All right, moving on to the next one here. I do have a play on this one. I do like something from this fight. We have Michael Chiesa and Vicente Luque in this one. It's a pick'em right now, minus 110 on each side. And the over-under is 2.5, with the over being around a minus 145, and the under being around plus 115 on my book. Anything spark your interest on this fight?
Lean with Michael Chiesa. I know since a couple people have been going in that direction. He's a tough guy. This is going to be one of those tough fights where, I don't even think you're going to find maybe you'll find an edge better live, but I think it's going to really kind of just look like an even bout. Both guys are going to, absorb damage and deliver damage. But it doesn't seem like, unless something big happens early to where things might shake out, but things could flip in the second round or third round. It's definitely going to be a watch and see fight. But I think Chiesa I would give the slight lean to him. Like I said, if you're in a pool, especially in this, one of the pay-per-view matches, you have to pick this or something. I would lean with Chiesa ever so slightly.
Yeah, I'm on the same page here. I actually bet Chiesa here. I got him at -105. The line's moved a little bit. He's at a -110 now.
Yeah.
And I was looking potentially at the under in this fight. I believe I mentioned it earlier on one of my other shows that Chiesa by submission plus 375 has my attention here. I think he's going to get some takedowns in this fight. He's going to be able to pressure Luque up on the cage. I think it's going to be a very frustrating fight for him for Luque, because I think he's going to be taken down a couple times. This is a good striker versus grappler match, and I side with the grappler in this one. I think potentially Chiesa can get some type of choke and potentially gets the submission. He does have 11 submissions on his record, which 11 out of his 17 wins are by submission. The only other 6 are by decision. So he doesn't really have hands, and he's not going to knock him out. So I think submission is better than taking Chiesa inside the distance. But I believe that's probably not too much of a difference because Chiesa has never gotten a knockout in his career. So I am looking at Chiesa here by submission. That's a plus 375 compared to a plus 300 for Chiesa inside the distance. I feel like he's going to have a lot of ground control in this fight and potentially wins a decision or potentially gets a submission in this one.
Yeah, and it makes total sense too because he's going to be the more aggressive fighter. Like I said, he has the better hands of the two. Chiesa knows how to avoid getting clipped with mega shots, so he can utilize the takedown, utilize the grappling, but they'll still be able to, like I said, they'll be trading off damage in their own right. Exactly. So, like I said, it could come down pretty close. If you had to look for a finish, Chiesa by submission makes complete sense unless Luque lands a knockout early in the fight, or even somewhere down at the very end, if Chiesa gets worn out and one clean shot lands. But I would err more on the side of Chiesa getting either a ground finish or this one going to decision.
Yeah, and I think the under 2.5 is worth a look on this one. I mean, it's a plus 115 on my book, and I mean, looking at these fighters on the Vicente Luque side, if you like him, he has a 90% finish rate. He has 11 knockouts on his record and 7 submissions. Only 2 decisions out of his 20 wins. Granted, out of his losses, though, out of his 7 losses, 5 of them have reached the judges' scorecards. So, but 13 of his 16 UFC fights have not had to get the judges involved. So I am leaning to, or I do have Chiesa in here. I might be adding Chiesa by submission on my on my card, and I might look at a third round sprinkle on Michael Chiesa in this one. Potentially a third round submission could be interesting as well. Third round submission is 18-1. Third round Chiesa in general is 14-1. I think that is worth a look at as well if you guys are looking at just trying to get a sprinkle at a very nice price here. So 18-1 potentially, or 14-1 Michael Chiesa third round could potentially make my card as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, we've made it to the co-main event of the evening here. We have Pedro Munoz taking on the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, minus 120 or minus 125 on my book, around plus 100, plus 105 run back. Over under of 2.5 rounds, minus 210 for the over here. Under is plus 170. Anything on this co-main events here?
I know a lot of people like Aldo. Obviously, he's the favorite for a reason. This guy's, a future UFC Hall of Famer. He's had a wonderful career, but I think, he's pretty much a gatekeeper status now. Seen him alternate wins and losses in his last 2 fights. Pedro Munoz is more of the future here. That's the side I would be leaning with. I'm not going to have a play in this fight, but, Aldo, like I said, he's shown some flashes of brilliance still, especially going down in this weight class. But I think Munoz just seems to be the much tougher, younger fighter. I think he's just a little bit scrappier, and if this goes to distance, I think he will show enough to the judges to be able to edge out and get a win here. So we'll lean with him in this pick'em range, but I'm going to just stay away from it.
Yeah, I have currently no action on this fight for the co-main, and I don't know if I'm going to get involved. Maybe, I'm going to probably have my $1 pick every fight type of parlay, but that's probably the only action I'll have on this card, on this fight, potentially with, I'll lean Jose Aldo in this fight. I'm also looking potentially at the under 2.5 here. I think we have a potential at seeing a finish here. The only problem is that Pedro Munoz, if it's going to be Jose Aldo, it's going to be by decision because Munoz has never been finished in his career. All 5 of his losses are by decision. So, and their finish rates are not the highest. Out of Jose Aldo's 29 wins, only 18 of them, which is 62%, are by finish with 16 knockouts. So Jose Aldo potentially by knockout would be interesting. I don't see Pedro Munoz getting finished in this one. So probably under 2.5 is a lean for me. The only thing keeping me off of that is Munoz's durability. And it'd be a lean towards Aldo, but I'm not getting involved on this one either. It's just going to be just a sit back and enjoy the fight because this may be Jose Aldo is one of his last fights. So this could be a potential like last fight for Aldo. So I think this is a sit back, relax, and enjoy this legend fight again. You're muted again.
It's definitely going to probably be one of his last pay-per-view bouts. I can see it. If he gets a farewell fight, maybe whenever the UFC gets back to Brazil, they give him a fight night main event, and he calls it
maybe
that.
Give him a Diaz brother or something like that.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if the Diaz, but they might want to give somebody a little bit easier than that potentially. So. They want him to go out on top in his home country. Like I said, he's a Hall of Famer for sure. So we'll see how this fight goes. And if he gets finished quickly in this fight, then who's to say he won't take his gloves off in the middle of the ring for this one. So like I said, that's always a concern with Aldo. Where's his head at? Is he ready to step down? And depending on how a fight goes.
Yeah, that's why I really have no interest in betting this fight because I'm so back and forth on this one as well.
Yeah.
One fight I'm not back and forth on, and I know you're not because you told me you bet this as soon as the line came out. This is the main event of the evening. Derrick Lewis, Ciryl Gane in this matchup here. Ciryl Gane around -155 or 355 plus 280 on Derrick Lewis. The over/under on my books 3.5. You can get it 4.5 on some books. You can find all these alternate lines. 4.5 is a plus 180 for the over, -220 for the under. And I know you have plenty of action on it. You can go first on this last fight of the night.
So Derrick Lewis is a fighter, and just for context too, I bet a lot of heavyweights. I watch a lot of the heavyweights, and there's some cappers who don't even look at heavyweights because they seem to be more of coin flips and tendencies, and that is the case. We see a lot more knockouts. Obviously, these are guys that are bigger, so they don't always come in shape. It's a little harder to determine the shape of certain fighters because of the fact that the heaviest weight class. It's not like if you see a guy missing a cut in one of the middle-sized weight divisions. So those are things that some people kind of tend to look against when betting heavyweights. But Derrick Lewis is a guy who I've been betting on often throughout his career. 16-5 in the UFC. Most of the time, he's not the better fighter in the octagon. Okay, this guy he's very one-dimensional. He's a very old-school fighter. He would have done well 20 years ago in the UFC, just like he's doing right now with his knockout power. He's got good takedown defense. He doesn't get taken down too often. And more often than not, sometimes he gets down, you just all of a sudden, you'll see him, he kind of takes his time, and all of a sudden, he just uses his brute strength and force to just get back up, even if it is a guy who's good on the ground. Unless he's fighting a world-class guy like a Daniel Cormier, those only times he gets submitted. But we saw him, pull out talk about, fights ending late in the distance. He got that knockout
Volkov.
10 seconds left against Volkov. We've seen him, put on some energy late in fights, end up getting the win. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Last 2 fights were absolute knockouts in the second round. And that's what I think is going to happen here. He's fighting Ciryl Gane, who's 9-0. Gane is a rising, stock in the UFC. This he's going to be a champion someday in the UFC. I just don't think he's going to get the interim belt in this fight. I think this is going to be a totally different step up in class for him as far as power is concerned. He's the sharper fighter, but you look at Derrick Lewis, he's come in, he's in shape. Keep in mind, this is a guy who just a few years ago was coming off, he was fighting, needing a back surgery. He got the surgery taken care of, and he's been fighting well. He's come in shape. He's 264.5 pounds, which is just at a half pound rather over the weight limit for the heavyweight division. But he looks cut, and you see him at the ceremonial weigh-ins earlier today. He was actually, it wasn't just the kind of jovial, okay, let's just take our photos. He looked like he was ready to fight right now. He was getting up in Gane's face. That's something we don't see. And the fact that he's fighting for a belt in his hometown of Houston, where throughout his career, even going back to his amateur days, he's 10-0. And he would be the 4th fighter in UFC history if he wins this bout to claim a championship in his hometown. The Anthony Pettis did it in Milwaukee, George St. Pierre did it in Montreal, and Zhang Weili did it over in China. So this is a lot riding for Derrick Lewis in front of his hometown. This is a huge opportunity for him. He wins this, he gets the shot against Francis Ngannou in the rematch, a fight that both guys want to make up for, because that was one of the worst fights in UFC history, modern day UFC history that we saw. So I like Derrick Lewis here. I got him. I had him plus 265 money line when they announced that this fight was going to be for the interim title. So I had that. I've had this in pocket for about 2 months. I then went and got plus 350 for him to win by knockout. And then I have 4 quarter unit bets. I have Lewis by first round knockout, Lewis by second round knockout, fight to not go the third round plus 120. And by the way, those are 15-1, 16-1 for those first round and second round knockouts. And I also
hype all of them.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. And I'll recap them for you too if you need. And then I also have, you mentioned the alternate totals. I have alternate total under 1.5 at plus 190. So the way I have this fight kind of scripted out in my head and in my betting. I believe that Derrick Lewis will put the pressure on him early and will wear him down. If not finish him in the first round, this will be where they come right back out, and within the next 30, 45 seconds, that second round, Lewis puts it right back on him and finishes it and gets the belt in front of his home fans.
Yeah, I think I got all these right. You got Lewis, you got the under 1.5, Lewis by knockout, first round, second round, you said it was 16-1?
You got it perfectly. And then no round three. That's plus 120 on
120.
No round 3.
Gotcha. I guessed on that.
You did a great job for that as quick as I was reading it. So but that's the way I see this fight. Like I said, Gane's a tremendous fighter, and he's gonna have to stay active. But like I said, the fact that Lewis is coming in shape, he's not just going to just be sitting around waiting for Gane to tire out and then knock him out. No, he's going to be active and pressing forward. This is going to be a different Derrick Lewis that a lot of guys have not seen, and it's going to be the same old power finishing it off.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in that as well. My only play right now at the moment is fight not to go to decision at minus 200, because I think a Ciryl Gane submission is definitely live here. Because we saw it with Daniel Cormier. He's the more superior wrestler and all that. Plus takedowns, if you want to get a takedown against Derrick Lewis, I mean, other than apparently Curtis Blades couldn't do it for whatever reason. He apparently a good counter to takedowns is an uppercut. So
right, exactly, yeah.
That lost me some money. I was all over Razor Blades in that fight, and that was not fun. But probably one way I might attack this is Derrick Lewis knockouts round 1 and 2. And then maybe look at 3, 4, and 5 submission round props for Ciryl Gane. Because I think the later this fight goes, the advantage definitely goes to Ciryl Gane. And the reason why I also laid the minus 200, because there's minus 200 for the fight not to go to decision, is Derrick Lewis has never fought for a complete 25 minutes in his career. He's had plenty of chances to do that. He finishes them way too early. If you're getting really crazy, Derrick Lewis by points is 12-1. That's never going to happen, though.
No, not at all. And that's the thing. As the fight wears on, like I said, the way that I feel Lewis is going to approach and attack this fight, if he does not get a knockdown or knockout in these first 2 rounds, that plays right into Gane's hand, because Gane does have the better cardio. Whereas in shape as Lewis is, Gane still has much better cardio. And if he can stay on his horse, move around, and then start wearing him out, start picking at Lewis, then set up the takedown, and then the submission. Like I said, the great prices you're looking at for submission in the 3rd or 4th round, or even 5th round, that would be something worth looking at, and even that would be something to look at live too. You'll get it won't be as high of a price, but you'll still find Gane by submission at a decent plus price if this fight goes into round 3. So even if you bet everything that the list that I have laid out, and this is something I'll be looking at, Lewis doesn't finish in the first 2 rounds, I'll have that little insurance policy on Gane, to try to finish by submission in one of those later 3 rounds. Because like I said, Lewis is built for 3-round fights. Even if it's a title fight, he's built for no more than 3 rounds.
Yeah. And yeah, he's the ultimate definition of a puncher's chance, Derrick Lewis. And one thing that I find interesting is with these takedowns that Ciryl Gane is going to get, because eventually he's going to take him down to the ground. I love it. The one way I heard someone describe this move for Derrick Lewis is the "fuck it, we're getting up" move, where he just pushes you off and gets back to his feet. He doesn't care sometimes when people are on top of him. And then I've seen in a few fights he was able to when he was down on the ground, get the top position, and then his ground and pound is almost second to none in the UFC. If you're underneath Derrick Lewis, good luck. You are going to be waking up, staring up at the lights if you do that.
This guy, he's one of the strongest, not physique wise, but just sheer body strength. He's one of the strongest fighters probably in UFC history. This guy's built like a football player. So like you said, he's not just someone you can just easily move around. Even if you have the technique, you could be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You could be a Division I top tier wrestler. But you're not going to just shift this guy around, even if you are in the same weight class or same even range of heavyweight as him. He's just too strong. He knows how to ground himself to the mat. Like I said, if he's on top of you, his ground and pound, he may not have any other kind of moves, but his lefts and rights are more than enough to get the finish.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I just went with fight doesn't go to decision at -200 for right now.
Yeah.
I might add stuff to my card. I have a couple plays I'm looking at. If you guys want to know if I'm adding anything onto my card, I'm on Twitter at Nicholas_Earle. That's where I will post any of my official plays. I do that throughout the week with most of my plays here. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably knew already half the plays I was going to give out here because I've been tweeting them all week long and I've been beating a little bit of line movements on some of them. So that's going to just about wrap up this card here. We'll go for a little bit of a recap here for this one. Where are you looking at for this card for your recap here?
So like I said, I mean, my biggest plays are with the Lewis, that Lewis stack, if you will, that I have. But like I said, Oda Osborne, plus 170. I like the Minifield fight to not make it to the second round at plus 120. Those are the other plays I have too. And I'll recap everything on my Twitter at AX Smith Sports. This will be one of the cards that I usually just give away for free. Being it's the summertime, people looking for things to bet. Like I said, on all the Lewis props that I have Lewis money line, Lewis knockout. I got the quarter unit shots on Lewis to win by KO in round 1 and 2. I also have fight not going to the third round, and I have that alternate under. So these are all plus money. If we can get that first or second round knockout, it'll be a wonderful Saturday evening.
Absolutely. And if you guys do want to follow Alex on Twitter, I do have his Twitter in the description, his name, if you guys didn't hear what it was. So if you guys want to check him out, his Twitter name is in the description of the stream as well below. But looking at my recap here, I have a lot of action on this fight here, on this card. I do have Osborne and Cape going under the 2.5 rounds. I have Minifield inside the distance as well as round 1 knockout. I have the Rodriguez-Morales fight not to go to decision. And I also have sprinkle on Rodriguez by submission. I got Bobby Green here at plus 260 and the round 3 prop, a quarter unit at plus 1,600. And I also went with, I'm waiting for it to come up there because it ran out of space here. There's a lot of plays on the scroller here.
The ticker below, sure.
Yes. Green plus 260, Green round 3 at 16-1. And I went with Casey Kenny at I got it at minus 118. It's minus 125 now. Also half unit on him by decision. Michael Chiesa, I'm looking at the submission prop as well for him. And then to close it out, fight does not go to decision, minus 200. I'm also looking at some late round Ciryl Gane props as well for that one. But that's going to just about wrap it up for the stream. I want to thank you guys as always for watching. Anything else you want to say before we head on out here?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on. It's been fun, breaking down. This is gonna be a great card. I'm definitely excited for it. And people, like I said, as Clint would say, get your fireball and popcorn ready, and make sure you got it on pay-per-view. And this is gonna be a fun watch. Even those prelim fights, like I said, it's not a lot of betting opportunities for me personally. But like I said, we always see some great finishes usually from prelims when it's a pay-per-view card because everyone's amped up. Everyone knows the world is watching. So hoping for what should be an exciting night of fights.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to just about do it for the stream. I want to thank you guys as always for watching. Be sure to give this stream a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those post notifications so you guys know whenever we go live, which is every single morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Earle Sports Bet Show. But that's going to just about wrap it up for this one. I want to thank you guys as always, and good luck.